Hi, I'm Donna. This is the last lesson in my Introduction to Yoga course, and you're in for a treat because it's a restorative practice, or I like to call it lying about yoga. And soft equipment is so nice to do this kind of practice with, and I'm going to use a bolster today, but if you don't have one, you can just roll up a couple of your blankets, and you could even use a strap or a ribbon to tie them up. So I'm about average height, so if you're smaller than average height, you might only want one blanket. You don't need it to be so thick. So just make a roll like that, and a ribbon will keep that in place. Okay. But I'm going to use my bolster because I have one. And we're going to start. I've got a friend here. In Supta Baddha Konasana, we did that last week, but I'll use the bolster. So if that felt too strong, because it's quite a large piece of equipment, then you'd use something smaller, like your triple folded blanket. So get your equipment ready. If you don't have a strap, just come straight into the pose. You put your support right down to your sacrum, so it supports the whole spine, the blanket under your head and your neck, and then your shoulders can relax. If you'd like to make this a little stronger, direct your focus a little more, then you could use a strap. And the way we do that is put it not behind the middle back, but down here behind the sacrum. I'll keep the buckle close to my left thigh. The strap goes over the legs, but under the feet. So then the buckle's not pressing, not so tight that you cut off your circulation, but tight enough to really feel that the legs are being supported. What the strap will do is pull the tailbone forward, so you'll get a longer lower back. So try that if you like. You might need to pause the video to figure out the strap. And tuning in. To just how you feel in this moment, beginning your practice, in the space that you've made for yourself. Feel the rise and fall of your chest and belly. Let yourself breathe in a really satisfying way. So that might mean deepening the breath. Enjoying each breath. Each letting go in your body. Good. And then to come out of the posture, just support yourself with your hands and try to lift your torso up symmetrically. So you use your core to help you lift. And then we'll take that strap off. And you're going to bring your blanket or your bolster to the front of your mat. And come into forward virasana. But this time, we're going to take the whole length of your support. That one might be useful, I'll show you why. And we want to try and lengthen the belly, the torso. So you're laying the whole front torso onto your support. And just let your back relax. So I've turned my head to one side, but if you use another little blanket there, you could rest symmetrically, so that make a little bit of room for your nose. Or you might like the feeling of turning the head to one side, and then you just need to keep that even, so maybe a few breaths one way, a few breaths the other way. You can stretch your arms or keep them relaxed, whatever feels nourishing in this moment for you. Giving the weight of your body to the support. Good. And then we're going to come up onto all fours. We're going to use that equipment again, but just push it out of the way in front. For cat stretch. Such an important posture as you arch your spine up and down for the health of your back. For tuning in to where your back feels at ease or where you might have some tight spots. So we have wide, even spaces in the fingers. Press the fingerprints, the base of the index fingers. Feel where the most movement happens in your back. And see if you can invite that movement the whole length of the spine. So for some people, the upper back moves dramatically, and the lower back is a little stuck. So see if you can spread the supple movement the whole length of the spine. Good. We're going to finish off with the spine arching down towards the floor. And you're going to use your support for downward facing dog pose. And it's to go underneath your head. So you might want to have a look for a second. It's not quite in the right spot for me. I'm probably going to find this support a little bit high. So if your support's too high, what happens is it squashes the back of the neck. You can do a couple of things. Either get lower support or walk the feet in so that your hips are a little higher. And you want to have a feeling that the support is encouraging you to reach your chest towards the legs, but that you're going to keep the back of the neck really long. And you just rest your forehead. We bring the weight back into the fingerprints, the base of the index fingers. Press your heels, lift your sit bones, your quadriceps, your kneecaps. Breathe deeply. Anytime you need to come down and rest into child's pose, come down and rest. But keep feeling the legs strengthening, the spine lengthening. belly lengthening and hollowing. Good, and then release. And we're going to come back down, and this time resting into child's pose. If your forehead doesn't reach the floor, then the support is there to rest that onto. Whatever feels comforting for you. That might be with arms forward a little. I'm most comfortable with my arms to the sides. To find what nourishes you, makes a quiet space for you, where you can observe your breathing. Good. And then coming up. And we're going to come back up onto all fours. Now, you might need that support. We're going to step the right knee forward for the pigeon pose. I think we did this last lesson. And if you find that it's very tight in your hips, this posture, putting a bolster in underneath your sit bone can be comforting. Okay, but if you don't need that, you're bringing the hips as close to the floor as you can. Good. We can come up onto fingertips wrapped around tennis balls. If you've still got a little bit of room to move into that back bend, you could even use your bolster to bring your hands up onto. Good. We're stretching out through the back leg so the foot goes straight back, lifting the belly, lifting the breastbone. Good. And then we're going to reach the belly forward, and you might be able to walk your hands forward. You might be able to reach all the way down onto your forearms, or even keep reaching so that your arms are straight out in front. You can put them on the floor. I'm going to put my arms up onto that bolster. I'm going to try and keep the sacrum level to the floor, lengthening both sides of the waist evenly. Stretch back through your straight leg. Good. And then I'm going to walk the hands over to the left side. So the right knee is bent in front. I'm going to walk the hands to the left side. So I'm stretching the right waist. So reach with your right hand. But I keep my back leg strong. Good, and then coming back to center. And you're going to walk your hands back towards you. Lifting the breastbone again. Good, and we'll step back into the all fours position. Good, left knee, left wrist. Take the bolster or blanket underneath your left sitting bone if you need to support your knee here. Or take the right leg back if that feels fine for you. Good, and we'll come right up onto fingertips wrapped around tennis balls. Lift the front core, the breastbone, draw the shoulder blades back. Find the resistance in your body. Can you just be a little more relaxed with that resistance? If you want to go up a little higher in your back bend, then you can put your hands up onto a support. Good. And then we're going to lift the belly and reach the belly out and over the floor in front. So you might be able to just walk your hands further forward to support. That might be enough. Maybe you can bring your forearms down onto the floor. We'll keep the sacrum level, the shoulder blades level. We'll stretch back through the right leg, lift the kneecap away from the floor. Good. You might be able to keep reaching further. You can take the hands all the way out straight to the floor or onto your support. Breathing deeply into the resistance. Looking for ease. Good, and then we're going to walk the hands around to the right side of the mat. So the left knee is forward, and the more that you reach your left hand here, the bigger the stretch for the left side of the waist. Keeping the collarbones wide. Good, and then gently lifting up, coming back to center, and walk your hands in, lifting the breastbone again. Good, and then stepping your foot or your left leg back into your cat stretch position. Wide, even spaces with your fingers. Press your fingerprints, base of your index fingers, arch your spine up and down. Good. And take a rest for a moment into child's pose. Rest your forehead onto your support if you like that, or onto the floor. You can loosely stack wrists in front and have your hips as high as your knees need. Inviting ease. Enjoying the depth of each breath. Good, and then inhale and lifting up. Now we're going to come into a squat position, and if it was very uncomfortable for your knees, so if that's going to hurt your knees, what you can do is your forward bend with your knees bent instead. So take this one if squatting's not going to work. Just relaxing your back, letting it lengthen. If you can squat down, and like me, your heels don't touch the floor, we're going to work on that a little bit. Now, let your knees out to where the muscles take them naturally, but follow the direction with your feet. So you can control where you turn your feet out to, so they're matching angle. Good. And then we're going to reach the hands forward as far as you can without overdoing it in your back. So just reaching forward. So you're really reaching out your balance to the front. And then you're going to try and press your heels down to the floor without falling backwards. Okay, so the further you reach forward, the better the counterweight. So let the heels reach down to the floor. Good. Now try and hold the heels where you've got them to and start to walk the hands back and start to lift the torso. Start to lift the breastbone. The heels are probably going to pop up like me, so we're just trying to hold that balance. Good. And then bring your hands in front of your heart. Lifting the breastbone. Good. And then we're going to come up. If you were holding your forward bend, you might feel like rolling up. So you can roll up, just elongating your back, look up, and then roll forward again. We're going to take our forward bend. Good. You can have your knees bent and really try and ease your left ribs forward, your right ribs forward. Just relaxing the back of the skull,
the neck. Good. You can try straightening your legs or just keep them a little bit bent. You want to feel a stretching in the back of the legs, but also a lengthening in the spine. A feeling of being spacious around the heart. So you might be resting your hands onto your legs. Good, and then we're going to bend the knees and come back down onto the floor. And set up some equipment. I'm going to use my bolster. Make a long, narrow fold with your blanket if you don't have a blanket. This can be tough if you're vulnerable in your lower back. So go for smaller equipment if you feel tender in your back. The other thing that can help is, I don't have two bolsters, but it'd be nice to have some more support down here. I'll show you what for. So I'm going to just fold a blanket or two. Okay. And what we're aiming to do is sit onto your bolster. You want as much of your back supported as you can, but you want your head to be for your neck to feel comfortable when your head is on the floor. Okay. Those other blankets are to put my feet onto. Some people don't need that. You can just put your feet on the floor. Okay. Another thing that's really nice in this posture, we're going to be holding this for timing, so you might want to take the trouble to do this. You're worth it. Is to get the straps and put that around your thighs. If you're not used to using yoga equipment, you do quickly get used to it if you take the time to learn in your practice, your home practice or your class practice. All right. So it looks like this, but see how my shoulders are squashed? It's not a nice feeling in my neck. So I'm going to keep moving back a little bit and bring my feet support with me until my shoulders are right down onto the floor. I'm using the sides of the mat here to help me. Because I've got the strap on my legs, then I can keep my legs parallel. If you get into this pose and it feels too strong in your lower back, then your equipment under here is too high. But what you do want is the benefit of this edge of the support underneath your shoulder blades. So then you get a really nice big opening of the ribs. Tadasana. You might have your arms out here by the sides, space for your armpits, or you can even try the arms just loosely overhead or stretch them out. Whatever feels really nice for you. So if you're liking what's happening in the upper spine, but you're struggling a little with your lower back, the other way you can do this is just to bend the legs in and pop them up onto the bolster. So not holding it if it's hurting your lower back, but if you're really enjoying the feeling in your thoracic spine, giving yourself to the equipment. Breathing deeply. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest and your belly. Good, and then to come off that equipment, we're going to bend the legs in and just ease yourself off and take the bolster out from underneath so you can remove the strap. We're going to roll gently to the right side and come up to sitting. And sit up onto your triple folded blanket. If your legs are uncomfortable in cross-legged position, just have them out straight but a little wider than your mat. Good. You might find that the bolster is useful for a head support. I'm going to put that in front. Bring the hands behind your hips and let your spine lengthen. Find that opening that you just had from the edge of your equipment in the last posture. Breathe deeply into that part of your body, ribs, around your heart. Relax your neck. Good. We're going to reach the belly forward. The breastbone forward. Some people are not going to have access to that forward movement, so keep working on the lengthening of your spine, the feeling of spaciousness around your chest, your best posture. Good. The people that have that access into moving forward, just keep going, but keep the space around the belly and the heart, and you might find that you can rest your forehead gently onto some support. Just keep your hands nice and relaxed. So if you're lucky enough to be able to reach support, then just give in to that. And if you're working more in the upright position, enjoy the lengthening of your spine, the reaching back of the shoulder blades so you make room for your neck, you make room for your throat. Good, and then gently coming up out of your posture and swapping the cross of the legs. Make a good beginning again, hands behind the hips, lengthening the lower back, reaching back with the elbows so the chest is wide. Good, and then lengthening the belly forward, just as far as your body will allow, keeping that intention to make the belly spacious, to make the heart center spacious. All the while lengthening spine, back of the neck, base of the skull, and reaching to where your body will reach. You can take a resting support if you have something appropriate. And letting yourself give in. Let go. Good, and then gently coming back up. Nicely done. We're going to take legs up the wall, and you can do that with support underneath your hips. That might just be a triple folded blanket like that. I'm going to use my bolster, and if you're really tight in the back of the legs, then being a little bit away from the wall might be what's necessary. I like to go right in up to the wall and get my sitting bones there. So you take what you need. I'm going to put this down on my hard floor. So I perch up onto my support, whether it's the blanket or the bolster, and I try to get both sitting bones as close to the wall as I can. And the first thing I do is lay down my shoulder and my head and wiggle in a little bit closer. So left sitting bone at the wall. And then when I lift up, I'm nice and close. So if this feels too tight in your hamstrings, you can have your support a little back from the wall. Good. We want to look for the symmetry in our bodies. So the center seam of the legs joining, center seam of the torso. Arms out to the side, palms rolling up so the armpits are relaxed. Finding your evenness. Making sure your shoulder blades reach down towards your back waist so your neck is relaxed. You can have your legs parallel or legs inside edges together. Breathing deeply right down into the belly. As though the breath were emanating from the belly. Letting go. Viparita Karani. Really nice posture for your digestion, your memory. Good, and then bend in your legs and roll carefully to your right side. Good. We're going to lay back down onto our mat. And this time you need a strap. Lay down as though you were standing into Tadasana, your mountain pose. So we're going to stretch out through the soles of the feet. Stretch the arms overhead. Give yourself a big, big lengthening. Good. Bring the arms in, bring the legs in. Place your feet so they're hip width, legs are bent. Bring your arms out a little from the sides of the body and bring the inside edges of the feet together. Lift the hips, swing them to the left and take the knees to the right. Good. And to start with, we'll just rest the legs. And you want to find the best stretch for you in the left side of your back. So that might be to bring the knees a little higher or a little lower. So just find the best position for you. Place your right hand onto your left knee. Left shoulder stays onto the floor and you're looking over your left shoulder. Relax your shoulders, your chest, your face, your throat. Give in to the sensation of the posture. Good. In the spirit of restorative practice, you can just stay passive here. If you just need a little more strengthening for your core, try squeezing the core, squeezing the pelvic floor, and gently lifting your knees and your feet off the floor. Hold by using the core muscles, but relax your neck, relax your throat. Good, and then gently release, relax your feet down onto the floor and walk your feet back up to center. Re-center inside edges of the feet together. Lift the hips and swing them right. Knees go to the floor on the left. Right shoulder blade stays onto the floor. You look in that direction. Find the best height for your knees. So that might be up towards the shoulders a little more. So as you reach your right knee away from center, you're lengthening the right side of the lower back. You can place your left hand onto your right knee. And at first just give in to the posture. Find your deep breath. Can continue like that, or squeeze the front core, squeeze the pelvic floor, and try taking your feet and your knees off the floor without tensing your shoulders, your neck, your throat, your face. Good, and then release your feet down onto the floor and bring your legs back up to center. Hug your knees into your chest, rocking a little from side to side. Good. Take happy baby pose. That's where you reach on the inside of your legs and hold on to your feet, and you bring your feet parallel to the ceiling, so knees towards the floor. Outside your shoulders, feel how wide the belly becomes. Collarbones wide, neck relaxed, face relaxed. Good. And then release, and you're going to take your legs out to straight. Again, as if you were standing into Tadasana. Stretching out through your legs, through your spine. Good. And then hug your right knee in. This is where you need your strap, so just keep it handy. Right knee in. And the first thing you might notice is it just seems to stop. There's resistance. And is that resistance really necessary? Let the thigh feel nice and heavy and the front of the hip crease heavy. Good. We're going to keep the knee in as close to your chest as you can and bring the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. So some people can reach to hold, but keep your shoulder onto the floor. And if not, just take your strap around the instep of your foot. I'm going to hold with a soft grip, but both shoulders back onto the floor. If you're really having trouble reaching, sometimes putting your blanket in underneath your head and your neck is going to make that a more comfortable process. All right, so the knee is squeezing in towards the chest. Trying not to push or pull, but just see where you can be a little more relaxed here. Good. And then we're going to make that leg straight. So you try and do that without letting the strap out, but it's not always possible. So you might have to lengthen your strap. We'll keep the shoulders relaxed onto the floor. Let the back of the leg lengthen. Lift the heel, dorsiflex your toes, so point your toes down towards your face or up towards your face. Breathing, relaxing your belly, chest, face, throat. Straighten your leg a little more. Good. Take both sides of the strap into your right hand, or maybe you're holding onto your foot, you don't need the strap. And we're going to start to take that leg, keep it really straight, and keep the foot in line with the knee, so the toes pointing towards the knee, so don't turn the foot. I'm going to take that straight leg to the right side, and you don't want to lift the left sacrum off the floor. So have an awareness of the weight of the left thigh, left hip, left sacrum, left core. Good, so the foot is moving just to where it will on your body, and you're letting that inner seam of the right leg lengthen, the belly widen. Keep your left toes pointing straight up to the ceiling. Good, and then coming back up to center. Take the strap into the left hand this time. We want to try and keep the right waist long. We keep the leg really straight and take the leg across your body to the left side. We'll keep the left toes pointing up to the ceiling. Chest relaxed, face and throat relaxed. Find a little more ease, a little more space, a little more giving in. So keep the right sacrum on the floor. Good, and then coming back up to center. Great, and we'll take the strap off. Just hug your knee in for a moment. Just relaxed. And let that leg out. And close your eyes, let the legs roll out. Notice the difference between your left leg and your right leg. Good incentive to do the second side. And press out through the soles of the feet, inside edges of the feet together, and hugging in the left leg. So again, we discover what the resistance is in the body. Without trying to push or pull, just letting that thigh be a little heavier. Reach with a little more ease towards the left ribs. Good. Keep the knee where it is and bring the sole of the foot so that it's parallel to the ceiling. Good. You can hold with your hands, make sure your shoulders stay on the floor though, or use your strap around the instep of the foot. So you try to keep your toes stretching out nice and long and straight. And again, without pushing, pulling, just letting that thigh be a little heavier. Good. And then we're going to take the leg to straight, and you might need to lengthen your strap or use your strap where you could reach before. so that your shoulders are relaxed onto the floor. So if you're using the strap, both sides of the strap into each hand. Really straight, lengthening through the back of the leg, lifting the heel, dorsiflexing the toes, so pointing them towards your face. Relax the abdomen, let the back of the leg lengthen. Good, take both sides of the strap into your left hand. You can take your right hand out onto the floor. And we need that weight in the right core, the right thigh, the right hip, the right sacrum. And we'll take the left leg towards the floor on the left side. Let the inside seam of the left leg lengthen. Let the legs straighten. But let your body stay symmetrical. Your right toes point straight up to the ceiling. Good, and then we'll bring the leg up. Swap the strap into the right hand, so both sides of the strap into the right hand. And we're going to keep the leg really straight and take the leg across the body to the right side, the left leg to the right, but keep the left sacrum onto the floor. Keep the left waist long, right toes point straight up to the ceiling. And where can you give into the shape of this posture? Good. And then release. Take the strap off and hug that knee in. And then let both legs out to straight. Let your legs roll out. Tuck your shoulder blades down. If you're really comfortable to stay here for the relaxation, this is where you'll stay. But you might need a few extra props like the blanket under your head and your neck, or the bolster or a blanket under your thighs if you're a little tight in your lower back. Settling the length of your spine. As you let your legs roll out, there's no more work to do. Bring your focus to where you feel the breath enter and exit your body at your nostrils. Can you feel the temperature of the in-breath? Might be different to the temperature of the out-breath. The humidity. See if you can discern the volume of the breath and what that feels like in each nostril. Does the left nostril feel like it breathes a little more volume than the right, or vice versa? Maybe they feel even. Maybe when you take your focus to one nostril or the other, it feels like it has more volume of breath. So we're going to use that ability to take the focus to one nostril and breathe in and out through your left nostril. Take 3 more breaths like that. Let your breath be its natural self. And then try breathing in and out through your right nostril, taking your focus to the right. If you're really curious about the alternate nostril breathing, try that again. 5 breaths in and out through the left, 5 in and out through the right. We might just enjoy your own breath, rhythm, and continuity. When you're ready, letting your breath return to its natural state. Seeing if you can feel the breath right down into your toes, your feet, your legs, your hips and pelvis, belly, your back, your ribs, your chest and shoulders, your arms and hands, your neck and your throat, your skull and your scalp and your face, your whole body. Allowing your focus to take in your whole body breathing, breath by breath. Feel where the weight of your body is supported by the floor, the building, the foundations, the earth, connecting us, each other. Feel where the air touches your skin, clothes, blankets. You might like to wriggle your fingers and your toes, just moving yourself gently out of stillness, and bend carefully in your legs. We're moving with compassion for ourselves here. Rolling to your right side. And come up and have a seat for a moment.
I wanted to say thank you for joining me on this Introduction to Yoga course, and congratulations for taking the time for yourself. And if you have any questions about the practice, you can contact me at my YouTube channel. And you might like to check out some other videos because you're ready to go to class. So thank you. And take the feeling of the practice with you. Namaste.